Welcome back, everybody, to my channel. So tonight's a little bit different. Everybody is asleep. It is quiet. I'm downstairs. I wanted to respond because I just got finished watching TK's video, his recent video about, the Windsor plant that is shut down right now. And I just figured can't go to sleep. So let's talk about it. So make sure you go and look at TK's garage, look at his basically video on talking about the Windsor is officially shutting down thus far for more than half of September. And now, don't get me wrong, the first thing people are going to basically say, or you're going to hear all over social media is, well, the six packs aren't selling. They're struggling. The inventory is stacking up and the EVs and this and this and this. But really, your girl did some thought, she's thinking about this after looking at the video, and I think it's more than that. When you're looking at things, why are the line workers being sent home while the tooling specialists and skilled trades, are staying behind on the floor? That has to make you start thinking about stuff. And if you're really connecting the dots on what actually is happening behind closed doors, it's really going to sit here and support my argument over the last videos where I said they're going to totally reboot. They're going to come out with the V8. Now, again, I told you guys, I don't believe it's going to be a HEMI. Okay, this new engine, if the suspected 5.2 dual overhead cam is going to come out, it's not going to be like the old school HEMIs, that pushrod, V8 that we're used to. Okay, by shutting down and keeping, like I said, the tooling specialist and the skilled trades people there, this is basically saying that they're going to have to reboot and get ready to start doing these V8s. And I told you that if they decide to come out with this new 5.2 dual overhead cam, they're going to have to get these assembly lines ready. And that is why the tooling specialists and the skilled trades are there, not to work on the car, but actually getting the equipment ready to be able to do the processing of this V8. And again, think about it. What if the master plan, like I told y'all, is to spin off SRT into its own standalone brand to bypass emission penalties and steal back dealer margins? So again, make sure you go look at TK's garage, because I learned a lot from him, like I said. So I want to give him his credit because he's making me up at almost 11 o'clock in the nighttime making videos. But basically, he covered word from the Canadian auto workers and part suppliers that the Windsor shutdown expanded from 1 week to over half the month. And if Stellantis only needed to clear lots because the 550 horsepower Hurricane 6-pack and the Daytona aren't moving fast enough, you typically do like a standard inventory furlough. You turn off the lights, you lock the gates, you wait for dealer incentives to clear the metal, basically trying to push these cars. But you do not see a company paying skilled trades and tooling teams to remain on the plant floor. That's with any business, okay? If you are plunging in profit margins, you're not going to say, hey, we're going to keep the lights on and we're going to have people still working overtime and doing these things if you don't have a plan. This leads me to believe, like I was saying a long time ago in my other videos, that they are physically modifying these assembly stations. And I told you they're going to have to put a lot of money in doing this. And I told you guys that the dual overhead cam is going to be a huge project for them. And that is why it's going to take a couple of years to get this bad boy going. And they're starting the process now. So what are they working on? I think they're working on like a cradle drop fixture, their subframe clearances. They're getting ready for the engine bay packaging. Because you remember, the STLA large platform was built from day one to be multi-energy. So it accepts battery electric powertrains, longitudinal gas engines. But again, dropping in an all-new V8 architecture, that requires specific line modifications that you just can't do during the active production shift. You need a shutdown period to get that process going. So like I said, to all the people who came out with these comments in my thing talking about, no, they're going to put 5.7s and they're going to put the 6.4 and the 6.2 back in here and we're going to get this. No, I don't think so. And this would support my thing, because if that was the case, they wouldn't be doing this. They wouldn't be doing this for engines that they have in their inventory. So you have to be realistic about why the pushrod HEMIs are shelved in the first place. And then you have to look at all the emissions crap that they went through. And now they're sitting here, like Matt said in the interview with multiple social media people, they are trying to be smart this time. And I think this is what's starting to get the cookies rolling. And look, you can sit here and go back and look at all the data. You don't have to believe me. But again, the Gen 3 HEMI reached its absolute physical and thermal limits under the federal emissions target. Sticking an iron block pushrod engine back into this next gen chassis would trigger massive regulatory issues if things shift in the future. So like I said in my other videos where people hated on me when I was talking about how if Dodge sit here and copy Ford, or if they would even look at GM, but copying Ford to make an efficient, clean sheet modular V8, a dual overhead cam twin turbo platform, is exactly why, or exactly what I said and predicted in the previous videos. So go watch those previous videos. And again, since the Inline-6 is here, and the EV is here, if you give, like I said in my previous videos, people what they want, and they want V8s, they are going to be more receptive to buy the Inline-6, and they're going to even be receptive in buying the EVs, because these cars are not going anywhere. But by doing this, performance-wise, they're going to have to come out with a halo car that is comparable and an alternative to the Hellcat. So by doing a 5.2 dual overhead cam, putting twin turbos on it, this would make a halo car. If they sit here and try to get a V8 and bring it out as a naturally aspirated car that can at the most do 540 horsepower, they're shooting themselves in the foot. They're going to lose money again. So I think that they are trying to come up with a game plan. Now, this is where I tried to explain to some of my commenters last time, because they were saying that I'm stupid. This is not going to do this and this. They're going to bring the HEMI back. Okay. You have to think, by utilizing modern cylinder heads, variable valve timing, like I've said in my other videos, forced induction, modern dual overhead cam, V8 gives Stellantis the ability to pump out 700 to 800 horsepower while meeting strict emission curves. Again, Dodge was known for dirty V8s. Even though we love them, they were the dirtiest. And nobody can sit here and argue that. But it requires completely different engine bay, packaging, intercooler routing, cooling jigs on that Windsor line compared to the old school pushrod HEMI. Like I said in my other videos, nobody has listened to me. And it's about to storm and thunder. I'm scared. Again, going back to Matt, his interviews, he made it very clear. They are deliberately not putting the SRT badge on the Inline-6s. They are holding back, and I can guarantee you that they're going to position themselves to break off as its own dedicated high-performance brand and allow those other SRT variants, I think there was about 30 of them, in that set here, that outline, that Fast Track 2030. I'm telling you, that is my opinion. It's my opinion, but I really believe that is what they are trying to do, and this would make perfect sense. Think about it. If Dodge sells a high volume V8 under their core fleet banner, okay, it's going to drag their overall corporate average fuel economy numbers down, CAFE, right? Because remember, we talked about this. But if you spin SRT on its own independent low volume performance entity, you create a legal regulatory fire break, okay? You are now breaking away from that, and you're going to allow it to be able to push these big V8s out. And like I said in my previous video, by doing that, making this an independent SRT brand, it solves the dealership markup problem. And if they would really smart about it and do direct to consumer, I'm telling you, Dodge would sit here and take it away. They would take it home, or I should say SRT would take it home. But think about it. How many buyers were priced out of Hellcats and Demon 170s because the dealership slapped, again, look at my other video, 30 to 50,000 ADMs on the window sticker? Do you hear that thunder out there? By setting up SRT as a specialized tier, again, even shifting to a direct-to-consumer agency model, Stellantis captures the entire 90 to 130,000 transaction price directly, keeping the profit margins in-house instead of leaving them on the dealership showroom. So again, you're not having metal just stacking up because nobody's going to want to buy those expensive cars. And also, if they would do the direct-to-consumer like we talked about in the previous video, people are going to want to buy them. They're going to feel like there is a better relationship, a better trust, because now it is just basically Stellantis, the consumer, and it's basically putting the dealerships in a parameter saying, this is what you can do. You can no longer do this. So let's bring it home. Where does the Hurricane Inline-6 fit into this? So right now, they're flooding the dealerships, the 6-pack Chargers without a V8. There's no V8 Halo model sitting at the top. You have this new Super B out there that delivers 600 horsepower. So playing it smart by temporarily throttling the Inline-6 ramp up, Stellantis halts the cash burn. They conserve working capital, redirect their focus, is allocating resources. My husband always talking about that crap, towards finishing the V8 tooling right now. And again, if they bring back the V8 smart, they will actually save the Inline-6, because think about it, in the last generations, Dodge sold far more entry-level V6S XTs and GTs than ever sold Hellcats, okay? I don't know why nobody is looking at the data and the past. The Hellcat gave the entire lineup of the cultural swag, everything that comes with that car. People walked into showrooms wanting the associate to associate themselves with this muscle car. I grew up and I never thought about owning, like I was talking to my husband, never thought about owning a Lamborghini or a Corvette. Those cars were, in my mind, just something that rich people had and I could never obtain, okay? And when we grew up, if you got a Hellcat, that was your ticket out. Like you made it big. And people can come and joke a person for their own things, but that was saying, you know what? You got out. You're able to afford that car. But over time, Dodge lost its credibility with jacking up these prices. And then you got younger people acting like idiots with these cars. But that was something that gave my generation something to work for or towards. It also allowed somebody like me back in the day to say, you know what, I can't get this Hellcat here, but I can walk out right now with this XXT or this GT. And then you know what, I'm going to graduate. I'm going to get the RT and I'm going to get the Scat Pack, which I did. Scat Pack, and then ended up with the Hellcat. It's going to sit here and have that customer come back and keep coming back, because once your finances, your pocket get a little bit deeper, you're wanting to build that rapport with that company and you want to come back and buy the next bigger thing. So bottom line, the Windsor shutdown is not just downtime, it's an operation reset. Stellantis is adjusting to market reality. They're retooling for a higher efficiency modular V8, and they're setting up, in my opinion, for SRT to be a standalone Halo brand that we all been waiting for. Now, the next thing, people are going to sit here and they're going to start bitching about the price, because I'm telling you, these new engines are not going to sit here and come out at $80,000, $90,000. These will be upper 90s, I'm projecting, and based on what you're getting in easily $100,000 for these vehicles. And then, like you said, we're going to see people bitching about it because they don't want to pay, but these engines require more money in. They're going to have to sit here and try to make basically a profit off of that. And that's why they need to be smart with the dealerships, already heading up, cutting them off so that they can't sit here and apply $30,000 to $50,000 markups on top of what this car is going to cost. So hopefully they come up with some direct to consumer thing that won't allow it this time. Thoughts? Do you think Windsor is secretly prepping the line for a twin turbo dual overhead cam V8? These are just my opinions, what I've been sitting here thinking about. Every video, we're just building on it. Do you feel again that SRT goes standalone? Can this happen? What are your thoughts about this direct to consumer where you can go online, purchase the vehicle straight through Stellantis, go to the dealer, no haggle, pick it up, drive home. The dealer gets their cut, you're happy, Stellantis is paid. Let me know and I will talk to you in another video. Peace.